Have you ever wondered where these YouTube trivia channels, TikTokers, and even NFL broadcasts get their ridiculous stats from, and if they're even correct? Welcome to Primetime Proofs, and today we're going to look at how accurate this Nerd Sesh video is. Let's take a listen.
Hello, grabbing balls. Can you name me the leading receiver for every MVP quarterback since 2000?
Let's do it.
And let's get to the end to see the results. They have a list of every receiver and their receiving yards. All the receivers are correct, but about half of the yards are wrong. But go listen to the full video. Check out Carson and Low Grabbing Balls. I'm big fans. I'll link them down below. Now you may think, what gives me the right to say that my data is any more accurate? To be honest, I don't know where NerdSesh gets their data. I would guess Pro Football Reference. I'm using this R package called NFL Read R, which gets their data from the NFL's API. It has some very useful data sets I couldn't find anywhere else called play-by-play that will be used in this video. I've imported all this data into a Cloud Azure database so that my friend and I can query the same data at the same time. Here we are in Azure Data Studio, my SQL editor, and I'm going to start at the end with the answers and work backwards. What I've highlighted is the main query that I copied for all the years from 2024 to 2000. I use a subquery to get the list of MVPs from each year, then set that list equal to the passer name, aka the quarterback. We look at the passer name in the play-by-play table for each year and where the games are in the regular season. Add in some grouping and ordering, and select only the top passer-receiver combo from each year, and we should be left with the MVP's top receiver. Now let's take a look at the two tables we use, TBL MVP and TBL play-by-play. I've included the important columns in play-by-play because there's actually 370 columns, and it goes through every single play and gives every single piece of information you could ever need to know about each play, which is great for what I'm trying to do. For now, we're just looking at the passer, the receiver, the game, receiving yards, and that's about it. The MVP table has several useful columns: year, player, position, team. So the first thing I had to do, if you'll notice, the player name in play-by-play is different than the player name in the MVP, so we had to do some string manipulation to get those to match. Here you can see I manipulated the name so that it takes the first initial and a period and the last name. There are player IDs behind the scenes and in different tables, but for this I decided it was not worth to join to another table. Implied in the video's prompt is regular season games, so I've included that clause right here. I've added the results from the video on the right hand side and the results from my query on the left hand side. And at first, you'll notice the receivers are all correct, but there are a few years where the receiving yard total is wrong. At this point, I'm just nitpicking, but I wanted to see why there were differences. The first year you'll notice a difference is 2021. Davante Adams in my query has only 1,511 yards from Aaron Rodgers, and in the video, 1,553. Let's dive deeper. I made this query a little different to see the receivers, quarterback, and yards. So I started with the receiver and only passes that he caught and grouped them by game. In this case, you can see that in week 9, Davante Adams caught 42 yards from backup quarterback Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers was out with his Achilles injury. Those 42 yards are the difference between the 1553 in the video and my 1511, the correct value for how many yards Rodgers threw to Adams in 2021. Backup quarterbacks are the case for the differences in 2019, 2013, 2011, 2009, 2004, and 2003. However, backup quarterbacks are not the only culprit of incorrect yards. In 2008, you can see that Peyton Manning played every game. Nice job, Mr. Manning, worthy of an MVP season. And Reggie Wayne, his best receiver, caught no passes from anyone else. Adding up these yards, we get 1128, but in 2008, in the video, Reggie Wayne had 1145. For this, I had to dig deeper into Pro Football Reference and go play-by-play to find the difference. And here in week 2, against the Vikings, when we scroll down to the play-by-play, we find that Reggie Wayne caught a lateral from Anthony Gonzalez, and Wayne ran 17 yards after catching the lateral. And if you're wondering how laterals are recorded for stats, we can go to the NFL's official guide for statisticians, scroll down to the laterals section, And we'll see this clause here. The receiver of a lateral is given credit for the yardage he gains, but he's not given a reception on the play. So this lateral would go down as 17 receiving yards, but 0 receptions. And if there's no receptions, there's no quarterback to pass, so these yards would not count for the Manning-Wayne duo. And just to confirm, here is that play in our play-by-play table. In 2008 Week 2, Quarter 3, our play is right here. Luckily, there's a lateral receiver player name and lateral player receiving yards for 17. And you'll see that the original receiver was Gonzalez, lateral to Wayne for 17 yards. Now let's take a look at the unique scenario in 2003 where Peyton Manning and Steve McNair shared the MVP award. Harrison's yards are accurate, but Mason's yards are a little bit off. Mason's yards from backup quarterbacks add up to 271, which is in fact the difference between 1014 and 1303. To get both co-MVPs in the same query for the same year, all that we would have to do is change top 1 to top 2. Since both MVPs are already in the subquery list, this main query should return the MVP's leading receivers. And temporarily moving top 2, we can see that that is the case. Finally, while the prompt was specifically for quarterbacks, LT was the MVP in 2006 and did in fact throw some passes, his best going to Antonio Gates for 19 yards. I think it would have been great to have Low Grab and Ball see if he could have named LT's leading receiver in 2006. LT did in fact throw 2 passes in his MVP season. And that's all. Quite a few exceptions in this query. Hopefully the next video I review will be a little bit simpler. If you have any stats that you want verified or need some context around, or any other suggestions for my video, feel free to leave them in the comments below. See you later.